Good. There we go. All right. Well, welcome to EDL700. I think most of you at least know my name because I also do advisement for MEDCI and MEDL. But my name is Tracy Johnson, and technically my title is College of Business Education and Human Development Coordinator, Graduate Coordinator. But in addition to that, I am an adjunct instructor in both the MEDL and MEDCI programs. So you're probably most familiar with my work as an advisor, but I also work with the MEDL, MEDCI programs, the Masters of Healthcare Administration, the Specialist in School Psychology, the Masters of Science in Counseling, the Master of Public Health, and then our doctoral program in Leadership Studies. So I totaled it up the other day, and I have about 1,100 students that I'm responsible for advising. And I don't know what's in the air. It must have been that blood moon or that full moon or something. But I have been just inundated with phone calls and emails. Now, part of that I'm going to blame on Dr. Perry, and we'll talk more about that in a minute, but also some information that was sent out to the MEDL students in my desire to clarify. I think I actually confused. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. But tonight, it's really just getting started. So you don't have a very heavy load or assignment this week. It's just basically to go in and do a discussion forum post. But I wanted to spend some time. First of all, we're just going to do a quick roll call where everybody tells us who you are, and then I'm going to give you some information that will help you to be successful in the course. And then finally, some of my just little pet peeves and things that, you know, we all have our quirks, and I'd just rather you know mine right up front. So without further ado, we are just going to kind of go through because there's no particular order. So just when you're ready, chime in and tell us your name and where you're from. That's okay. Go ahead.
I'm Caitlin Hamilton. I am in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. But I'm originally from Michigan, so down here in Baton Rouge.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Stacy.
Stacey, unmute again. We just heard the first part of your name.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Stacy Rathbun. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Tazi, and I'm in Melbourne, Florida.
Oh, awesome. Lucky you.
Yeah, we're in the 70s.
Yeah, it's terribly cold today.
Hello.
Hi,
Sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm in the library, so I can't be loud. My name is Lisa Henderson, and I'm probably the reason for all the questions about the internship because I asked Dr. Perry on Monday, and so I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll tell you the funny story behind it here in a few minutes.
Okay. Well, I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, Greg, I think you were next, and then Jade, maybe?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Greg Hill. I am in Monroe, Louisiana, and I currently teach at Franklin Parish High School in Winsboro.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jade Gambino. I'm a speech pathologist, and I'm from St. Rose, Louisiana.
Oh, awesome. Welcome.
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carly Carver. I'm responsible for all the emails, Dr. Tracy. I am here in Baytown, Texas, and I am 8th grade reading teacher.
Awesome. Fellow Texan. Glad to have you.
I'm Kelly Gilpatrick, and I'm from Louisiana.
Hey, Kelly. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Melissa Murphy. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but I'm originally from New Jersey.
Okay. Welcome. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hi, I'm Andrea Howard. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I am in Killeen, Texas.
Oh, okay. My son-in-law was stationed at Fort Hood. I spent a lot of time in that part of the world.
My husband's Army, so that's why we're here.
Ah, well, thank you for your service as a military spouse.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lindsay Colligan. I live in Prairieville, Louisiana. I'm currently a 3rd grade math and science teacher.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Keoka Chisholm. I live in Harvey, Louisiana, and I currently work for the Department of Education.
Oh, okay. So now I have somebody I can call when I can't get hold of the people I need to down there. Good to know.
Hi, my name's Kelsey Flowers, and I live in Southern Ohio, where I am a preschool teacher.
Oh, awesome. I taught preschool once upon a time. It's fun.
Hi, I'm Athena Bro, and I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Amanda Toms, and I am in Annapolis, Maryland, and I teach second grade.
Welcome, Amanda. Now, my husband, he was looking over my shoulder, and I don't know, I was doing something with your name, and he's like, is she related to David Toms? So I had to ask.
I don't believe so. Maybe somewhere, but that doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, he's a professional golfer, and my husband is a golf fanatic, so that's why. And actually, they grew up together. He knows David really well.
I don't know. I think I would know if I had a famous golfer.
Yeah, probably so. Stephanie, I just saw this, and yeah, of course, go right ahead. Go ahead and introduce yourself on the chat. Who else? Chime on in, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley Square. I am a 9th grade Algebra 1 computer science and math essentials teacher from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Oh, bless you for working with those freshmen and getting them through algebra.
Yeah.
That is a challenge.
Every day.
Yes, ma'am. But thank you. Very important work. Probably the most important course they'll ever take in their lives.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley Justice from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I teach first grade.
I like your shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, those of us that are Saints fans are still not quite recovered. We'll see what happens.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Dr. Tracy. I'm Margie Kirkland from Mansfield, Louisiana. Hi. And I'm one of the emailers, so.
That's okay. I think I responded to you tonight. I think I did.
Oh, okay. I hadn't checked it. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's all going to be fine, guys. We work everything out. Don't worry about it. Okay. Who else, guys?
Hi, I'm Carly Markle. I'm from Marksville, and I teach 6th grade math.
Welcome. 6th grade math, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, those are interesting beings, 6th graders. Thank you for working with them.
Hi, Carly. I have another Carly in the class.
Oh, hey, Carly.
Okay, and be sure and read on the side. Stephanie just introduced herself. She's from Metairie. Okay.
Hi, I'm Laura Mutal. I'm from Scott, Louisiana.
Hi, Laura. Welcome. Let me look on this other page here, too, and see who I'm still missing.
Let's see.
Go ahead, Kristen. Kristen, you'll need to unmute. There, I unmuted you. Kristen.
Hi. I'm Nicole Patel.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, Kristen, yeah, we can now introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, y'all, I'm new to this.
It's okay.
Kristen Schultz, I'm a pre-K teacher in New Orleans. Nice to meet all of y'all.
Welcome. Glad to have you. Okay. Who else have we missed? I'm trying to kind of scan.
Hi, I'm Laura Vaughn from Baton Rouge. I teach middle school history and computers.
Oh, bless you middle school teachers, I'll tell you. I was a middle school principal for 3 years, and I was like, get me out of here. I cannot do the hormones on feed anymore.
Okay, let's see. How do I do this?
Yeah, Denise, just talk. We can see and we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Denise Thomas, and I teach ESL.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. Okay, who else have we not heard from?
Hi, I don't think I finished. My name is Nicole Dissatel, and I'm a math learning strategist in Lafayette Parish, but I'm from New Orleans. This is my 3rd year, 3.5 years from Lafayette.
Oh, okay, welcome. Love your accent. Very New Orleans. Anybody else that we've missed? Like I said, you show up on two different pages for me, so I'm trying to scroll back and forth.
Hey.
Hi, Marissa.
I'm using headphones, so it feels weird. But my name's Marissa Youngblood. I'm a 9th grade ESL East and Spanish 1 teacher. I'm from Magnolia, Arkansas.
Welcome. Glad to have you. Okay. Anybody else? Did we get everybody? At least everybody that wants to say hi? Okay, well, let's, so, you know, if you read the post, you know, I posted about myself. You know, basically, I've been around forever and a day. You know, once upon a time, back in the dark ages, I taught developmentally delayed preschoolers, ages 3 and 4, and then also kindergarten. Then I decided I had this in a very affluent private school in the Highland Park area. So if you're familiar with Dallas, you know, I think the median income is more digits than any of us will ever see in our careers or lives. And while that was great, I loved working with the kids. I got really tired of my main contact being with the nanny or the assistant to the mom or whatever. And I just thought, you know, these students are going to do great in life, whether they have a great teacher or not. So my altruistic, wanted to be Helen Keller's side, or not Helen Keller, but her teacher, Ann Sullivan, took over. And so I applied for in the Dallas Independent School District. And quite frankly, I absolutely loved it. It was definitely my niche to work with students who were from a more urban environment, much, much lower socioeconomic status, lots of ESL students, you know, et cetera. So I was an elementary teacher teaching what they used to call resource, which is kind of like inclusion now. And did that, worked with K through 6, was also the department chair. And because I also have a double major in secondary English, I taught at the high school. And I did that for a couple years. And I loved it, but I felt schizophrenic because I was teaching the correlated language arts courses, which back then was, I think, below remedial. So I had that for the seniors. And so it's like the last ditch effort to get you to be able to write something and do all of that and graduate. And then I had 9th grade honors classes. So it was like working with the best and the brightest, and then the students who faced the most difficulties and challenges. From there, I moved into administration. Dallas was under a desegregation court order at the time. And so they were actually monitored monthly by the federal court system. And I was the liaison between the court system and the school district. So whenever there was an allegation of racism or something along those lines, I was the one that went in to investigate and make recommendations that I reported back to the court, and then the court would require the school district to do that. So really interesting job. It was probably one of the most unusual opportunities that anybody could ever have. And, you know, did that until, did that for about 3 years. Really missed being around children and campuses. So I became a dean of students at the high school. Then I was an elementary principal, a middle school principal, a huge 3,000 student high school principal, a magnet or boutique or specialty school, depending on where you're from, high school principal. Then I became an area superintendent. In a district the size of Dallas, when you've got almost 240 some odd schools, even though I was, quote, an area superintendent, I had more students just in my area than most school districts have. And then I was also an assistant superintendent for secondary teaching and learning in the Irving School District. So at any given time, I was responsible for between 15,000 and about probably, I think the most I ever worked with was probably about 25,000 students, parents, teachers, schools, etc. Decided that I just really had done my time, 35 years, and quite frankly, I got mad at my boss and the district that day. And so when I get mad, I try to do something that's semi-productive. So I did a Google search and found this job at LSUS and applied on literally because I was mad, and just to make myself feel better that day. And lo and behold, they called me, and when I looked at the opportunity to come to LSUS and the fact that I could retire very comfortably from Texas, and my husband, we were debating. He worked all over Louisiana while I was in Dallas. We were commuting back and forth between two houses. It was just kind of a nightmare. So I made the decision that maybe God had a bigger plan and something different. So I retired and been at LSUS since 2016. So what I'll try to do in our EDL classes, particularly this one, and I will tell you, this is probably my most favorite class to teach. I am a huge believer in professional learning communities, but I will try to bring in a lot of practical experience, those things that work as well as those things that didn't work, so that you get a sense of what it's really like. Now, if you're an MEDL student, I will tell you, whether you're thinking about your certification exam or not, there will be a lot of questions about how you apply what you learn. So it's not just a matter of checking off the box, guys. We have to understand and know the theory behind professional learning communities, the research, how it can impact student achievement, but most importantly, what it looks like in actual application. And we've probably all been part of a group that was called a PLC. This day and age, it's pretty commonplace. However, I will challenge you to look at how effective and how efficient that professional learning community is. The research bears this out, as well as my own experience. It is extremely rare to see a professional learning community that is both effective and efficient and is also having a positive impact on student achievement. Because at the end of the day, whether we like accountability or not, and I can certainly argue for and against pretty effectively, at the end of the day, it's all about student achievement. So that's where we're going to spend our time. So the other kind of, tidbit that I would give you about the course, do not let it snowball on you. Okay, if you're sitting back thinking, oh, wow, I spent 15 whole minutes this week or 20 minutes on the assignment, this is not the norm. So I've seen people just get behind and it snowballs and they're like dying at the end. Part of the course is scaffolding. Obviously, I have to give you some foundational kinds of things because by the end of the course, I want you to be able to create an entire professional learning community plan as well as an implementation plan that you can actually take and use next week or at the end of the course or whatever, as a teacher leader, as a campus leader. I even had people do this for businesses. There's a lot of different ways that we can go with it. Okay, so in terms of how the course is structured, I try to work ahead of you guys and have several modules open at a time. So if you've looked at the Moodle site, which obviously you did to get this, I have opened up weeks 1, 2, and 3. I've almost got week 4 ready to open, but I'd like to go back through it at least a couple more times just to make sure everything works. Sometimes the links don't work, even though when I try them, they work or whatever. So I just want to make sure I can avoid any glitches. The other part of it is too, when you're thinking about this, the way that it's going to work for the class is every odd week you're going to have a discussion forum to do. Okay, so like obviously week 1 you have a discussion forum, week 3 you'll have a discussion forum. You are going to respond to a prompt, and then you also will respond to 3 classmates' postings as well. So you're going to do an original post, which is your response to the prompt, and then reply to 3 of your classmates. Now, if you heard me earlier, I have a double major in special education and English. So some people have said I'm the toughest in the entire program when it comes to grammar and usage and writing and all of that. So I have enabled for you a grammar and spell check in Moodle. Please use it. I try not to be, the comma Nazi or something like that, which my students used to call me, but guys, this is graduate school. It is professional level writing. And, people that I've had students literally say, hey there, and this is professional level writing, okay? So I do expect that. Also, if you really want to get the highest possible score on those discussion prompts, include quotes from maybe some of the readings or videos. That kind of stuff will just strengthen your response. During the even weeks, you're going to have what I call a reflective essay. Okay? And again, it's a response to a thought-provoking question that I want you to glean information from the videos, the online readings, whatever we've talked about in that particular week, okay? Now, that does not mean that I want you to just regurgitate. It's not a summary of what we've done. What I want to hear from you is respond to the question, tell me what backs up your response. So let's say I make an outrageous statement that I think there should never be another bell in a school ever, that there should, students should just move from class to class with no bells or anything like that. If you agree with me, tell me why. Give me your own practical experience so that you're applying it. But then also tell me where you see or what research backs that up. If you disagree with me, it's the same thing. Now, in those reflective essays, I do expect quotations, in-text citations, as well as a reference page, okay? You don't have to do an abstract. If you want to do a cover page, great, not required, but I am a stickler about references and those citations. But guys, you got to back up your beliefs with some evidence, especially if you plan on becoming any kind of a leader, teacher, leader, principal, etc. People are always going to challenge you, and you got to be able to back up what you're saying with evidence. This is a way to do that. In addition, you'll have 3 major projects. The first one is a case study, which I believe I introduced to you in week 3. Then you'll have a midterm. That's the second case study. And you'll have a final exam. That's the third one. Now, in case studies, and the reason I use case studies is basically there's really 3 compelling reasons. Number one, I had the opportunity to study in graduate school at Harvard a couple summers, and they use nothing but case studies in their graduate schools and law school. And I think for me, it was a very compelling way to take all this theory and research, have a situation, and figure out how to apply that. So that's one. Number 2, this course, if anything in the world, I want it to be relevant to you, okay? When we're just reading theory and stuff, I can spout all kinds of research theories and things, but putting it into action is a whole other different element. If you're like me, I've been to what feels like a million professional developments where somebody was paid a lot of money to stand up there and tell me about all their research. And I walked away going, but what do you do with it? I needed some practical suggestions. So using a case study allows us to do that in a pretty safe, low-risk environment. Thirdly, if you're an MEDL student, those are the kind of questions you're going to get on the SLLA. It's all application, guys. It's not regurgitation. It is application. So I want you to get used to this. They do smaller case studies or snippets of case studies where you have to, basically figure out what the response should be and then justify your answer. Okay? So case studies, case studies, case studies. Let's see, what else do I want to talk to you about? In terms of grading, I try to stay on top of grading, but like I said, I have about 16 jobs here, so, just bear with me. If I get too far behind, call me on it. Just email me or message me or whatever and just say, hey, Tracy, any idea when you're going to grade? And I'll probably be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I'll get right on it. But, sometimes I need that just little push too. Pet peeves. Okay, my name, and I put this in there, is Tracy Johnson. Everybody in the entire United States, including the federal government, knows me as Tracy Johnson. That is my legal name. I do not know why LSU, the system, cannot seem to get that I am not Tracy Fraley Johnson. They're the only people in the world who call me that. It irritates the bejeebers out of me. So please do not call me Tracy Fraley. Just please call me Tracy. I'm not a doctor. I'm an MED. So just, Tracy is fine. We don't have to be that formal. We're all grown-ups here. Let's see what else. I'm sure many of you scoped out what I'm really like as a professor or teacher, and some of you've had me before, so you can tell everybody the truth after this. I'm pretty easygoing, because I am a practitioner. I know what it's like to be in a classroom and in a school, and I also know there are times of the year that you are literally dying. So, yes, deadlines are there, mostly to keep you on track, but I am not going to be like chopping your head off if you miss a deadline for an assignment. All I ask is that you communicate with me. Just shoot me a quick email. You don't even have to tell me why. Just say, hey, I'm going to be late submitting my assignment. Sometimes, well, actually most of the time, let's say you don't submit an assignment, I will go ahead and record a 0 and put no submission. Don't assume that's the last final grade, because it's not. It's just my way. That's how I can track who I still need to grade. Because if I leave it blank, when I pull up my report that says so-and-so, you know, these assignments need grading, it won't show. So if I do a 0, no submission, I can pull up a 0 report, and that tells me I've got stuff to grade. Okay. So my only caution with you missing deadlines is don't let the work snowball on you. Okay. You don't want to have to do marathon. Maybe that's your work style. I don't know, but I wouldn't want to have to do marathon work. Let's see, what's my other pet peeve? Well, I'm pretty easygoing, really. I mean, doesn't take a lot to rattle or upset me. Even though I am a little bit peeved at Dr. Perry. I told him that today, but anyway. A couple of you too have told me that you're having a hard time opening some of the videos, that the links don't work. The only thing I can figure out, because I have gone back and done it, because I can look at Moodle as a student. I can look, I've done that many times. It's working fine. In fact, the actual video is there. It's not even a link. I've tried the links, they're working. The only thing I can figure out is that it might be a system requirement that your computer doesn't have, or there's a filtering or blocking. Like I know for, you know, there's some school systems, for example, that block YouTube. So that can be it. It can be something in your antivirus software, but I am not a techie kind of person enough to tell you what that is. So usually just, if you can't get the video or a link to work, email me and I will send you another link, and we'll just figure it out until we can get it to work. But usually if I send you the actual link, you're able to open it. But like I said, I've checked in Moodle. I've checked from, I have an Apple at home. I've checked from my MacBook at home and it works. I've checked it from my PC here at work. And the videos are right there and they're opening. So like I said, I'm not really sure what the problem is. Just email me though and we'll figure it out together. Okay, so the last thing before we get into just a little bit of the meat of the course tonight. And I apologize to our EDCI students. Dr. Perry, I don't know if he misspoke, and by the way, he and I are dear, dear close friends, so of course I have to give him a hard time. Apparently he said something, and I wasn't there, and I think Lisa said she's the one that maybe started it. He said something about the internship. And I don't know what he said, but I know within literally probably 15 minutes, my email blew up. And my phone started ringing off the wall about people thinking they needed to be in the internship right then, and it was too late, and it was a mess. So in my attempt to clarify, I sent out a massive email to all MEDL students explaining the internship. What I forgot that was probably pretty critical, that sent a whole nother slew of emails. Depending on when you entered the program, the Masters of Educational Leadership determines whether you need 3 credit hours of internship or 4. So if you entered any time before fall of 2018, you have to complete 36 credit hours, which includes 3 credits in internship, or EDL700 taken 3 times. And that's basically it. So anybody that entered like summer of 2018, spring of 2018, fall of 2017, or before, you're under the 3 credit rule. Anybody that either was that entered during that time and opted into the new catalog, which we started in fall of 2018, or if you were admitted in fall of 2018, or for spring of 2019, summer, anything forward, you have only 34 credit hours required. You don't take EDL700, the curriculum class, but you need 4 credits of the internship. Now, within the internship, there's a lot of different ways to arrive at that magic number of 4, and it's just math, guys. we have a course out there called EDL700, which is 3 credits. We're actually phasing that course out, but in some rare instances, I've had to put students in there. So regardless of whether you need 3 credits because you were in the program prior to fall 2018, or if you need 4 credits because you're in the program from fall 2018 forward, as long as you get a total of 4 credits in any configuration, you're fine. The other part of it is too, I always try to give everybody their degree plans through graduation. That's what we use to determine graduation. So don't pay attention to that interactive degree audit in terms of what classes you've taken. They're notoriously wrong, and that's true for everybody, including MEDCI students. The degree plan determines graduation, okay? So I'll get off my soapbox. I think we finally got it straight. I talked to Nelson today, Dr. Coulter, who teaches the internship. I talked to Dr. Perry. We're all cool. It's all good. You know, if you are just still freaked out about it, just email me. Just know that after working literally 12 hours today, I still have 109 emails to do. So I'll get to you as soon as I can. Just bear with me. Okay? So comments, concerns, questions about the course or anything like that for tonight before we just kind of look at some big stuff, big rocks? Okay, y'all are like, okay, just shut up, Tracy. We're ready to. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you guys can see this okay. Okay, can y'all see that? Do you see a screen now as opposed to me? Okay, so basically what we're going to be doing this week, if my computer will work, during the next module, week 2, you're going to be doing some leadership assessments. Now, I know if you're in EDL701, you've probably done something like this, or maybe even these, I don't know. But we're going to do 3 specific leadership profiles: True Colors, Love Languages, and Compass, okay? Some of you may have done 1 or more of these before. You may have done all of them before. I want you to still do them again, and here's why. Our colors, our love language, and where we fall in the compass in terms of leadership changes over time. It changes due to maturity, experience, situations that maybe you're in at that particular time. But it's very important that we kind of look at this, because part of building an effective professional learning community is to ensure that we know who we are as leaders, and also to figure out pretty quickly who other people are in terms of the way they look at the world, the way that they want to approach work, etc., so that we can build the most effective team possible. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing next week. It's pretty simple. You'll have a diagram you'll fill out and post, and we'll go from there. So let's talk about the professional learning community. So there are a couple of researchers' names that you need to be able to spell.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Did anyone else have trouble opening the Compass one? I couldn't get that open.
Somebody told me that, and so I reposted a different link.
Okay.
So you might want to try it again, but Stacy, if it doesn't work, email me and I'll try another one.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. So part of what, when we're talking about professional communities, basically the gurus of professional learning communities, of course, is Dr. Dufour, Rick Dufour. He did the groundbreaking work. He really kind of invented this. His wife, Rebecca Dufour, is also very well known in this area, as well as their co-author, Robert Eaker. Peter Senge talks about professional learning communities. Peter Senge is really into brain research, very well known, particularly in the business fields, has done a lot of very interesting work around leadership. But they both talk about professional learning communities and specifically how they're used in schools. So I'm not going to read this to you. You can obviously read it. But one of the things that they really push in their research as well as their writings is that if we want schools to be truly effective, we have to move away from that industrial-driven model, which was, created 100 plus years ago, and morph into a true learning organization. Schools are not designed right now to be learning organizations. It is a purposeful and challenging cultural shift that has to happen to become a true learning organization. We tend to think of schools providing learning for students, but in the research and the stuff that's been done by these authors, their premise is that everybody needs to be a learner. That the old days of teachers going in their room, shutting their door, and doing their own thing are obsolete. That's not going to get us where we need to go. So it's very important that we understand what our purpose is and to be driven by those goals and have that commitment as a community to what it is that we value and what we're trying to accomplish with our students. So it goes way beyond the idea of our goal is to increase our achievement scores by 10 percentage points in math, by 8 percentage points in reading, etc. It's much more than that, and it requires true commitment on the part of the stakeholders. So the emphasis falls on relationships, shared ideals, and culture. We're going to talk a whole lot about culture and climate here. So in the simplest form, an effective PLC, once it's formed, and we're going to walk through every one of these particular elements, but an effective PLC focuses on 4 things. Who do we need to reteach? Who do we need to reteach it to? Why did our students struggle with this? How do we reteach it? Okay? I've been in a lot of meetings people called PLCs. I remember vividly, I was observing an elementary PLC at one of the schools I supervised, and these were all very strong teachers. They got good results, but their entire PLC was focused on an upcoming field trip and who was going to be in charge. They took a week-long camping trip. Who was in charge of the logistics of that? Not one time did they talk about teaching. Did they talk about learning? Did they talk about where students fell on the spectrum? Which students mastered the concepts? Which ones didn't, etc. So the entire focus of an effective PLC revolves around one thing, and that's results. So that's one model. Another model, which is very much similar, talks about what are we teaching. So this is the idea, if you've heard of Heidi Hayes Jacobs, she's one of the big curriculum gurus, talks about a curriculum map. So the focus can be on what are we teaching? Is it where are we with our standards or our curriculum or assessment? What are we learning about our students from formative assessment done in the classroom to summative assessment maybe done at the school or state level? So why and how are we teaching it? So you notice again, what is it that we are doing that is going to assure success for our students? And then finally, how will we know if the students learn it? So in Model 1, it's all about the reteach piece. In Model 2, it's really on the bigger picture of what we're teaching, why and how we're teaching it, and how will we know if our students learn it, okay? So now, thinking about these 2 models, and we're not going to actually use those questions, but I'd just like to hear from you guys, which model seems to make more sense? And by the way, there's many more. I'm just giving you 2 examples for the purpose of this. Which one makes more sense to you, Model 1 or Model 2?
For me, it's Model 2.
Okay, tell us why, Nicole.
I think right now our school district as a whole, the curriculum is what the teachers are struggling with, implementing with fidelity.
Okay.
And it seems to be a focus of everything we do, that the curriculum, the planning, we try and teach them how to plan and to assess. It seems like every week I'm having to replan with them, I should say, go over the curriculum, talk about it. So that model means so much to me because that's a big thing in our district right now because we're using Eureka and we're getting pushback with it, with the teachers trying to implement it. And I think that that model is the biggest for me right now. And that's where my heart lies too, because I think that's the meat of everything that we have.
Yeah, great explanation. And, you know, I think you're right, especially when you're going into a new curriculum implementation. And I would even push back. You know, there are times that even if you haven't changed the curriculum, it's been the same in, I don't know, for 5 years. I have been amazed at how many people didn't know what the curriculum said or what it was. we had an online curriculum when I was in Irving, and I'll never forget, I was working with department chairs, and we had our content team, our content leaders there for central office. So, we had our math person, and she's sitting with all the math department chairs for secondary and the reading person and all that. And the first thing we said was, okay, and by the way, we provided laptops to all teachers and high school students. Okay. So, we're like, okay, everybody open your laptops and go ahead and log into, our curriculum was called D2SC. Log into D2SC, and so you can look at what we're going to be talking about.
Tracy?
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm sorry. I got to go. My daughter just got hurt at the ball game, and they're calling the ambulance. Will this be recorded? Can I get on it later?
Yeah, I'll send the link.
Okay.
Pray your daughter's okay. Let me know.
Thank you so much.
All right. You're welcome, baby. Go. Go. But anyway, the first indicator was how many people didn't know their login information. Well, that tells me you're not using it. And over 50%, and these were department chairs, you're supposed to be leading other teachers. They didn't know what we were teaching. I don't know what they were teaching, but they sure didn't know what they were supposed to be. So critical to look at as, if nothing else, as a foundational piece to gauge where your teachers are before you can even have a PLC. Okay, great insights, Nicole. Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
I also thought to the second model as well. And as an ESL specialist, one of the things we're working with right now with a lot of teachers is backwards design and trying to get them to really focus in on, like, okay, if this is the end outcome, how do we scaffold this for English language learners? And this second model to me really focuses more on that backwards design process it's more proactive instead of the like, oh, well, model one is a reteach. We've got the kids have already learned the content. We're past the testing time. They didn't get it. So what do we do now? Whereas as this model to me kind of anticipates and puts time into anticipate misconceptions that students may have.
Great insight, Caitlin. Yeah, and I think that really kind of hits this middle block here. Why and how are we teaching it? I've seen schools where they may spend some time over here. What are we teaching? They'll read the standards at least, or some principals will require them to have a standard written in their lesson plan. So at least it looks like they're covering that. And a lot of people will default here to the student element, the reteach part or whatever. But they really forget that the meat of all of this is in the center. Because if teachers don't know why they're teaching what they're teaching, and they're not paying attention to effective practices to ensure mastery of learning, then it doesn't matter that these other two things happen. Right. So we're gonna talk about it's called Thinking Through the Lesson Protocol by Lynn Resnick. We're gonna spend some time talking about how you can do this and how you can help your teachers to spend some time here, as well as looking at evidence that supports how well we're teaching it by looking at some student work samples and how to evaluate that piece. But yeah, excellent insight, Caitlin. And I love the fact, oh gosh, who is calling me? We're just gonna have to ignore that. So I don't know how to mute the ringer on this phone. Yeah, I do. Let me just do that real quick. Okay, it's gone. But anyway, we'll spend some time talking about that element because it is a very important piece. And I love the fact that you guys are talking about how do you scaffold for your second language learners. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, Tracy.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say is that I think what makes sense the most is that when you focus on how are we teaching it, it takes away from how we have to reteach it. So I just think that makes more sense in the second model. When you really focus on how you're getting something done and evaluating it in the process, the less likely you are. And even if you do have to reteach it, I guess it's a little less evasive.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Greg. You're absolutely right. When I was in Dallas, I guess last 3-4 years there, we had a very controversial superintendent. Personally, I thought the man was brilliant. He was the most instructional superintendent I'd ever worked with in my life. And he really pushed the idea of good first instruction. And his point was that if we do a good job in this middle quadrant, like Greg's talking about, And if you even think about the RTI model and how it should be done, that if we get this right, this becomes very simple because there's not a lot of students that you have to worry about reteaching if you do your job here. Unfortunately, if we don't spend the time in the middle quadrant, then we're going to spend our time reteaching everybody. And then we have the problem of, are we getting through and covering all the standards and the curriculum that students need to be successful? No, we're not, because we're over here having to reteach foundational concepts. And particularly those of you that, are teaching probably third grade and up, how often do you see students come in with so many conceptual and knowledge gaps? It's because we didn't take care of the business in the middle quadrant when they were younger. And I'm not blaming kinder, first, and second grade teachers. Don't misunderstand me. They've done everything they can do, and sometimes kids are coming in 3 to 4 years behind before they even hit kindergarten. But if we do our job in that middle piece, just like Greg said, this will take care of itself in terms of assessment. Great point. Okay, for the sake of time, we're not going to go through all of this tonight. But I do want you just to kind of think about this. So you're a newly appointed principal or a newly appointed teacher leader who's going to have to lead a PLC. And let's assume there's a PLC that's been in place. It's not been terribly effective. Thinking ahead to the fact that I'm asking you next week to do these leadership assessments. Let's just go ahead and do a, oh shoot, sorry, I'm going the wrong direction. There we go. Why do you think that as a person who's now becoming the leader of a professional learning community, why is it important to know about leadership styles? What do you predict?
Well, I think it's the same like with learning styles. How are you able to reach those people you're trying to affect some sort of change or in the classroom change with? That's always been one thing I do with my students so that I best know how to engage them in lessons. And while I can't reach everybody every lesson, I can try to get almost everybody every lesson.
Excellent. Good point. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry, my camera's not on because I'm driving. But
no, please don't.
I think it's also important to just know the different leadership styles, because in order for you to easily smooth into your path, whether it's teacher leader or whether it's school leader, you have to know or have an idea of how you want to approach your first assignment. Are you going to be an authoritarian? Are you going to just be no nonsense? Collaborative approach. And I think the better you know your style and how your team maybe was previously managed and maybe what they would like to be managed like going forward will kind of make it easy for you. Because I think sometimes people automatically default to authoritarian when they first come in because they feel like they need to set a certain tone or a precedent. But most of the time you're working with adults. So I would think that you would get more for your buck if you came in with a collaborative approach, because people like to be heard and they like to feel as though their opinions are being considered and they like to feel that team ownership.
That is an excellent point, and you're absolutely correct. People default to authoritarian or a very direct leadership approach because they're usually afraid of losing control. Now, I used to joke with my high school teachers that, educators or teachers, sort of as a group, tend to be control freaks. We like to be in control. That's why I think we become teachers. And if you're like, hyper controlling, then you become a principal. That's just the way it works. We like to be in control, and we think we know. And while there is a time and a place for very authoritative types of leadership, it's not sustainable. It will work in the short term. It works great in a crisis. Sometimes it's necessary. If you really want to gain student achievement, create a positive culture, have a very positive climate, create that sort of family atmosphere where you get a school where people want to be there, they want to stay there, they fight to be there, you're never going to get there by being a dictator. So it's important that like you said, we understand ourselves, but we also begin to understand others. So I'm going to give you just one quick example, and then we'll kind of finish it out with questions. When I was high school principal in the magnet school, it was a performing and visual arts school. It's very well known in the country, more presidential scholars in the arts than any school in the entire world. So, you know, really cool place. So we did True Colors as part of our professional development that year. And on our ID badges, we put dots with our colors. And we just did the simple one, the 4 colors, you know, gold, blue, orange, and green. And we put them by order of preference, okay? So, you know, my first color was green. I'm very analytical, you know, I'm a big picture vision kind of person. My least was blue. It was a running joke that I had absolutely no compassion for another human being at all. Not true, but it was hard for me. I'm a very get it done, matter of fact kind of person. So we also did this with our students. And the students were 10,000 times better at using this to their advantage than the teachers ever could have been. So for example, I had students who would, you know, they want to start a club. So they would come to me with this, you know, idea. We want to have a baking club. And I'm like, okay, and there were certain things that you had to have. You know, do you have a teacher sponsor? Do you have a budget? Do you have a calendar? Do you have bylaws? You know, all this stuff. Literally 2 meetings with 2 different groups of students. And the next thing I knew, every student group that would come in and want something, they would bring it in a nice, neat notebook that was organized, and it was tabbed, and it would have the budget, it would have the bylaws, it would have the officers, all of that, because they figured out if they put it together in that format, me being the green person who likes the data and all of that, I was very likely to approve that. Now, if the teachers had just figured that out, life would have been grand for me, because it would have helped meet my needs. Not that I was there just for that, but my point is, when we understand ourselves and we become vulnerable and we're willing to share that with people we work with, it really becomes a very powerful synergistic relationship where I understand that you're not going to be the data-driven kind of person, that I'm going to get you on my team because you're blue. You look at things from that emotional standpoint. Whereas the gold person, they want to know all the details. I am not a detailed person. It drives me crazy. So we're going to have to figure out how to do this together. That's just one small example of how knowing who we are and sharing that with others makes us have, even beyond leadership, really makes us have more effective communication and more effective collaboration than if I'm this way and you're the polar opposite, but we don't realize that about each other. It becomes a conflict, or it becomes a stalemate. Okay? All right, what questions do you guys have? Comments, concerns, anything that's you just are like, oh, that's ridiculous, or, you know, pushback? Okay, y'all are letting me off awfully easy tonight, so thank you for that.
I know I came in a little late, and I know I tried to watch the video, and I heard you say that you think that it might be just blocked from YouTube. So is that a YouTube video, that first one?
All of my videos, what I do is I record them on my webcam, and I upload them to my YouTube channel. That's the quickest, easiest way for me to get them. And then I download the actual video, not just the link, into Moodle. So, you know, if you're blocked from YouTube, we'll figure something else out. But you should be able, at least in Moodle, to see the actual video, because it's not taking you back to YouTube. The actual video is in Moodle. But if you can't get that to open in Moodle, it's probably some setting on your computer or within the Moodle course that has to be looked at. And if you still can't get it, just email me and I'll get you over to our ITS department. They're able to help you with that.
Okay, yeah, because I think it just said it wasn't available for playback or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Because like I said, every time I've done it from home, I've done it from work, I've done it on my phone, I've done it on my iPad, I've done it on my Mac, done it on the PC, even did it on a tablet, Android, and they all work. So like I said, I don't know beyond that, you know. You guys are exceeding my technical knowledge.
Okay.
Dr. Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first, thank you. I'm excited about this class, as I told you in my email, because we are PLCing every day on my campus.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's been very interesting to see my team every day. But one question I had was being from Texas, and I heard you mention the SSLA. I asked one of my classmates, and it was pertaining to licensing. I am med CI, and so I wanted to know, does that affect me at all being from Texas?
No, it does. Well, it does, but it doesn't. So let me explain what I mean. Texas now accepts the results of the SLLA. So we had a student who just graduated. He passed the SLLA, which is good, by the way, in 12 states. It's not just a Louisiana test. And then he got his certification in Louisiana. And then Texas accepted his principal certification from Louisiana.
So is it mandatory is what I'm asking, because I'm already licensed.
You already have your principal certification?
Yes, ma'am.
Just send me a copy and you're good.
Okay, thank you.
We'll just need that to graduate you, that's all. You just have to have licensure.
All righty, thank you.
You're welcome, Carly. Have a good one. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, I know a lot of you have Dr. Coulter here in a few minutes, so we're going to end this. So let me stop the recording.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
For, how we have to read and do the video and take notes, do we post that? Or it's just for us so we can answer the questions that you had at the end of the slide?
Yeah.
We'll be answering that through that or through the weeks?
I suggest taking notes for your own purposes. And so then when you get to like the big assignments, like the midterm and the final, use your notes. It's open book, open notes, whatever. But if you're not a note taker, I respect that. I mean, it's really however you study best. I am very much a note taker.
Okay, and the questions at the end of the slide, it asks about the leadership assessments. Is that all through the reading and the videos and things like that?
Yeah, and you don't have, whenever we're, like there's a PowerPoint or whatever, that you don't have to do anything with that. These are things that I want you to be thinking about, just because it's that brain learning that if you, what's it called? God, I used to teach reading, I can't even remember. Preset, whatever it is. It'll come to me. But anyway, it's just the
reading activity.
Yes, thank you. It's just the idea that you sort of set that in your mind, so then you're more intentional when you're reading or listening to a lecture or whatever.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.